Right. I can start now. All right. Okay. Just want to welcome all to this live session. Um, where yeah, where it's at least in one of the series for the National Seed Bank that we would have done. So more or less highlight what is being done at the seed bank and by extension what the ministry is doing. Right. So the topic for today is actually the crop varieties that are available at the National Seed Bank, which from time and time again, a lot of people would normally ask, well, what do you carry? What it is what is sold at the seed bank? So this presentation is actually to kind of highlight that and to finally shed some light on it, with the hopes that, persons who would tune in would then know what we do at the National Seed Bank and what we carry. What we must note here, and it will come across in the presentation, is that we do what you would call shooter type varieties, in the sense that the seeds themselves, if you were to harvest or select seeds from your produce, you plant it back, you would get back the same thing. So it's not hybrids, but there's shooter type, and would have been a lot of the varieties would have been developed through research um, to give you the best benefits. All right, so we're going to move on to right. I think my mic got muted there for a few seconds. Yes. So I don't know how long though. So I don't know if you would have missed what I would have said before, but just a little background on the National Seed Bank, even though it may have been gone through in another presentation, but just to kind of remind people, we used to be known as the Chaguaramas Agricultural Development Project. We're based in Chaguaramas, very nice location on Macri Road, really good soil type, and for doing what it is that we do, which is to produce seed material for farmers and the general public. All right. So through cabinet note, it was eventually changed by name to the National Seed Bank, more in keeping with what we do at that station. We have a cold storage that we will keep all our seeds in that are produced. We have a reserve for disaster mitigation. In the event that any material is lost or like through, where we're seeing a lot of flooding and so on taking place now. So farmers who would need to get startup material or whatever it is, these are things that we all will get involved in, right? As a station. Yeah. Let me move on to the next slide. Right. Well, I started talking about the key roles of the National Seed Bank, and I did indicate about the provisional seed material for disaster mitigation, both legal and regionally. We have had from time to time with, and there is a little delay in terms of the change from slide to slide, so bear with me. So the provision of the seed material for disaster mitigation, both locally and regionally. From time to time, if there's any disaster, we would have had to send material, we would have had requests, and we would have sent material to of the islands who would have had damage from hurricanes, and they needed material to start back up their agriculture. So we played a role in that, and by extension, the ministry and the government of Trinidad and Tobago. We do preservation or conservation of a lot of key vegetable seeds and keep it in cold storage. In other words, at any one point in time, we have material there to replant in a number of varieties, which you will see coming down on the list there. Right? We do some root crop germplasm conservation. Now, when we say germplasm, we mean plant material, right? Root crops in terms of cassava and sweet potato. We most likely will be expanding that to include yam, both local varieties and some from Ghana, right? In terms of the vegetable crops or the other type of crops, we do corn, pigeon peas, which is actually the Tobago pigeon peas, Bodi, sorrel, pumpkin, okra, melongene, hot peppers, both red and yellow, and other local things like lauki, jingi, that sort of thing. So again, all um, all the varieties that are what you call shooter type then. Yeah. I'm just waiting. I see I've gone on to the other slide. So there it is. It's changing now. So as I said, the corn, which is the Cimet 7728, is a nice field corn. Now all these seeds are available at a subsidized cost. So what you'll find is that it's not expensive. So your cost of production, if you were to use these seeds, will be significantly reduced. We know right now operating costs or production costs what is driving some of the prices. Now we have the issue of flood, but that's for another thing. So the corn, the Bodi, the Los Banos, that actually is not the vining type. That's a short variety that could actually be grown in pots on a small scale, or if any person wants to do grow bags and so on. Yes. We have Melongene, which is the long purple. We do okra, both white and Puerto Rican dwarf. Dwarf does not mean that it's actually a short type, but it's just referred to as a Puerto Rican dwarf. So those two types of okra. The pigeon peas is the common Tobago pigeon peas, which is that sort of brown pigeon peas. Soon we should be introducing some other types of pigeon peas, the green types, which a lot of people are very interested in. We do pumpkin, the CES stars, and this was developed through the research division in the ministry, as well as we do sorrel, both two types, the early red and a year-round sorrel. Karaili, same, jingi, and the lauki. And if you see the picture there, that is the lauki. That is the type of setup that we will do for lauki, and also when we're doing Karaili as well. Right. So just to kind of touch base on some of the main varieties, and the slide should be changing here shortly. We're looking at corn, because people always ask, well, what about the corn? What can you tell me about corn? This variety that we carry. So just a little background, the corn generally bears like 2 cobs per plant. So this variety, you'll get 2 cobs per plant in about 8 to 16 weeks. And like most varieties, it requires nitrogen-based fertilizers after planting. So your usual fertilizer regime that you would use in the early stages with planting corn is what you would implement, right? Alternatively, corn could be planted traditionally just the way with like how you do pigeon peas. And again, I just want to remind that you can actually select the seeds or grains from the crop. Like if you select some cobs that are pretty good, you could take seeds from it and keep it to be replanted for another harvest. So this is all part of what is being encouraged at the National Seed Bank. Right. I did talk about the Bodi. The variety is the Los Banos. It's a short variety. It is something that I think a lot of backyard people or people who are setting up grow boxes, or if they're setting up anything like grow bags and so on, and they're looking for a Bodi that to do without a trellis, this is a good variety to use. Most farmers prefer the trellis, so I'm getting that out there one time, because with a short type of Bodi plant like this, it'll be very backbreaking for farmers to plant it. So we kind of encourage more so like the backyard farmers to do it, because you can do this in a grow bag system. All right. So you're looking at some little characteristics on it. You picking Bodi in 5 to 6 weeks. Edible long green pods. Like it's quite, as I say, it produces really quickly. The mature plants grow best in open sunlight and well-drained soils. But again, you can set up a grow bag system, and it will do quite well there. I personally have grow bags with growing Bodi right now, and I'm harvesting Bodi from it at this point in time. All right. So it is something that people can think about, especially where we're trying to encourage persons to maybe grow some of their own food to take their grocery bill down a bit, right? Because we know things are increasing in cost. So these are little things that they could do to to help, right? We're moving on now to the hot pepper. We'll discuss the Faria, the Faria yellow, because this is the main one that we do. But we do have a red in it as well, which we do from time to time. It doesn't compete. It's not something to compete with your scorpion or your maruga, because in terms of the scholar rating, this is at the lower end, but it is ideal for your pepper sauce making. Most people don't really like the really, really, really hot peppers for it. This is one variety that you could look at. Seedlings can be planted both during the rainy and dry season. Of course, with the rainy season, there'll be a little more precautions you have to take for diseases, because that's the time you tend to get it. Your first set of hot peppers will be harvested in about 10 weeks after planting, and the bearing actually will continue for about several months with proper maintenance. So you would get drop off in the potency of the pepper as you go closer to the end, right? So you must keep that in mind. Plants can reach as tall as 0.6 to 0.9 meters. So we stick with metric, right? One plant will provide all the peppers that the average family needs. Yes? Right. One of the other things that we do is the Melongene, which is, we call it the long purple, right? As I said, remember, this presentation is to highlight what we do or what is done at the seed bank. So the Melongene is the long purple shrub-like plant, all solanaceous, same group as tomatoes and sweet peppers and so on. Will grow to a height of 1.5 to 2 meters tall. They do better in well-tilled soils and open sunlight. And again, this is particularly if it is you're growing it in your rainy season, because you want good drainage to make sure that a lot of moisture doesn't retain around the plant to encourage diseases. Fruits can be harvested in 2.5 months, and one plant can basically supply between 1.8 to 2.2 kilograms of melongene. The conversion for that is 2.2 pounds is equivalent to 1 kilogram. So you could do the maths there in terms of your yield and how much plants, based on how much plants that you would plant. Right? The okra, and the slide will change shortly. As I say, there are two types we do, which is the white and the Puerto Rican dwarf. Right? Now, okra will grow throughout the year in well-drained soil. The okra white can grow up to 1.5 meters tall and will bear 12 weeks after planting. The Puerto Rican dwarf variety grows up to 0.6 meters. So that's why we will call it a dwarf. But the plant itself is not what you would expect as a dwarf, but it's just a little shorter than what the white okra will do, and will usually be able to harvest that in 6 weeks after planting. Right? 2 okra plants will be sufficient to feed an average size family. So you realize the focus here is to kind of hint that if persons have, want to set up anything in their backyard, they don't have to have a lot of large land space. They could grow, do some things, and you could come and get the seeds. They're not expensive, and you can set up something to at least get to. So you have, we spoke about melongene, we talk about hot peppers, we talk about okra, bodi, a nice mix of vegetables. Now we go on to the pigeon peas, which is a yearly thing that everybody looks forward to for the new year, to make their New Year's, they pilau, and then you have the processing industry as well. So the pigeon peas that we do is the Tobago pigeon peas. Now we are looking to expand in terms of some other varieties. So we've been doing some collections of some other types of pigeon peas that will probably give you more grains in a pod, right? And you could probably stay tuned for that information coming down the road. But this Tobago pigeon peas can grow up to 2 meters and should be planted during the month of June, and you're harvesting approximately 7 months. Pigeon pea trees will thrive well in full sunlit and obviously well-drained soils, as most plants, because again, you want to limit your disease interference. All right. And pods can be picked when they are about 5 centimeters long. Now, what we have found, or what is known with pigeon peas, is at least in a backyard situation, if you have just about 2, 3 plants, yeah, the tendency is that you would not get the amount of pigeon peas that you would want. So in a situation like that, you need to have at least minimum of about 10 to about 15 plants in any situation to really make it worthwhile. All right, in terms of for pollination and for the kind of production that you want. All right, so that point must be noted. Right, and we're moving on now to the pumpkin, which is the commonly called, or what is a name that came down from true research, was the CS stars, because of its look. It almost looks like a star. It's a flattish type pumpkin, not smooth, not rough skin, smooth. Right? And you basically is harvesting this pumpkin in 3 to 5 months after planting. Grows well in both rainy and dry seasons. And again, but well-drained soils. You can get your pumpkins weighing from between 4.5 to 6.8 kilograms when harvested. Right? Now the flatness of it makes it easy for packing and for you to stack it properly. So that was one of the attributes of that particular pumpkin. It cooks really well. It is not a watery pumpkin. It's nice and buttery, right? Drying of the vines is a good indication that the pumpkins are ready to be harvested. So that's something that people must take note of. They're always wondering, well, when there'll be a good time to harvest. So once you see those vines drying and so on. Now, one of the key things involved with pumpkin, particularly in planting and the rainy season, though, is the incidence of gummy stem, what you call gummy stem blight. Pumpkins and watermelons and so on, they all belong to the same family, and they're all prone to that particular disease. So the use of fungicides in those particular times would be recommended to kind of reduce the incidence of it. And because it's a vine growing on the ground, it's fairly easy to pick up the disease. But it's not that you can't do it in the rainy season. You just have to take the kind of precautions that you need. Make sure your soil well drained, and you use your nice fungicide and fertilizer regime. Right, we're moving on now to the sorrel. And we actually come in at that time of the year where sorrel will be very, very popular. So I'm just waiting for the slide to change. Yep, there we are. So we do the early red and the year round. Now, some people ask about the year round, what it is exactly. It just means that the sorrel will produce throughout the year. All right. Now, the early red is the one that everybody is commonly is familiar with, because that is the one that you will get available on November, December, depending on when you plant it, obviously. If you plant in July period is when you'll get it for December, right? So the plants can grow up to about 1.5 meters tall, and you'll be in 5 months. So you must keep that in mind. If you want to time it for November or whatever, you have to look at planting it 5 months before, right? The year-round variety of the sorrel produces a short shrub-like plant, and it fits perfectly in the home garden. So but it's the sorrel from it is actually a little smaller than the early red, right? But the taste, there's no difference in the taste. It's the same thing. It's just that you have this variety can be planted year round and starts bearing 2 months after planting. So that's why we refer to it as a year round. So you could get it sorrel in a shorter time. If you have to produce sorrel during the other times of the year, this actually is the variety that you should do. All right. Proper maintenance and again, well-drained soils would help reduce any disease. It is related to hibiscus. It is a hibiscus. So mealybug and so on will always appear. So you have to be careful with those and monitor. Just as any crop that you're doing. Yeah. My assistant reminded me of something here on the side here. So this is very interactive. Right. So we now come into the seed bank initiatives. Right. So we talked about the sorrel. We here at the National Seed Bank actually have what you call an annual sorrel picking, which draws a lot of attention. Our sorrel, though, because of the weather conditions and so on, we're looking at anywhere January, February, around there, that the sorrel will be available. It doesn't, you are allowed to come in and pick as much as you want, but you don't leave with the sorrel. What you'll actually have to do is when you harvest, you clean and you leave the seeds for us. All right. We have nice stations set up and things like that. So it's usually a nice little community get together. You have people traditionally look forward to this sorrel picking that we do on an annual basis. All right. It is oil free. So it's just a common pick. Excuse me. Right. We recently started a Bodi picking exercise, which because from time to time, what we would do is we would plant crops of Bodi because Bodi is being a what you call a nitrogen fixer. You could, if you need to boost your productivity levels in soil, you plant a crop like Bodi, and you can do what you call green manure in. So you just basically rotate the crop back in. What we have done now is that we invite people to come when we do this, when we plant the Bodi, and you can pick the Bodi for a period of time. And it's sold at a subsidized cost. It's really, really, really cheap. And that has also generated a lot of interest. So it's an opportunity for people to get somebody that they could use and not, and at a very low cost and help with their food bill. And from time to time, we do what you call flash sales with sweet potato and pumpkins, because with the pumpkins, when we harvest pumpkin, we only need the seed. The pumpkin itself is sold, and again, at a subsidized cost. Sweet potato, same thing. We only need the slip. So if we are planting new fields and we have to harvest the sweet potato is sold at I think it is $4 a kg. And the pumpkin is how much again? If you just remind me, how much the pumpkin is? $2 a kilo. And remember, a kilo is 2.2 pounds. So you just think about it. That's a bargain price. All right. So just we normally will be very active on our Instagram page, which is usually shared to the Facebook page for the ministry. So you just stay tuned to that and you will know exactly when it is we have these things coming. Right. How you can purchase seeds, because again, this is a question that a lot of people will ask. The National Seed Bank in Market Road, we sell seeds there. We have our main sales outlet in St. Augustine Nurseries. As part of that compound where they sell the plants and so on, there's a nice little sales office there to come and get your seeds. Seeds are sold at the La Reunion Plant Propagating Station as well, which is located on the Caroni North Bank Road in Centeno. The Marpa Farm, and this is for people up in Plumbington area and the Manzanilla area. Seeds are sold there. We're not forgetting people in the South regions, because in St. Patrick East, which is that penal demonstration office, they sell the seeds, as well as in St. Patrick West. So as far as Point 14, seeds are available. Now we have some upcoming initiatives where we will be housing chillers in these areas to make sure that the seeds themselves will be stored in the right conditions to make sure that they remain viable. So when you purchase, you're guaranteed you're getting at least about 98, almost 100% germination with those seeds. All right. And then a little thing there coming soon. You'll actually be able to do some online ordering through the growtrinbago.agriculture.gov.tt site, which was launched a couple months ago, of which we are actually up for an award for. It was nominated. So if you get a chance on the Facebook page and the ministry, you'll see where that link is. You can go and vote for us. Get a chance to check out the site, and you will see it's basically a nice one-stop farming site where you can get publications, you can get brochures for all the crops that we just spoke about on the do's and don'ts, how to plant it, spacing, all these different things. All right. So with that said, it's time for questions. So I am sure there are a lot of people who have questions. When would? Right. So someone was asking when would corn be available. Right now, corn seeds will be available anywhere in January, February, because right now we have a high demand for corn seeds and we are harvesting at the moment. Of course, we have to go through the process of cleaning and getting it packaged properly. So I would say by January, February, we should have corn available. Right. The sorrel, somebody was asking about the sorrel picking. Again, based on when we were planting the sorrel, we may be looking at anywhere like probably February going into March. February going into March. So don't worry, you can still come pick it and put it in the freezer because it will stay till December if it is you need to get your sorrel.
Tomato seeds.
Tomato seeds, yeah, that's a question a lot of people always ask. Well, how come we don't carry tomato seeds and so on? Again, I would have indicated that we do shooter type varieties. Tomatoes and all these things are what you call are usually hybrids. If you were to collect the seeds from it and plant it back, you're not going to get back the same thing. So there were some local varieties of tomatoes that were shooter type from the old days, but those seeds are quite difficult to come by, and we were still trying to get it. But as it is right now, we don't carry tomato seeds or sweet pepper or pimento, because all of these things are not shooter type. There are no guarantees that you will get exactly what it is that you want to plant. Any other questions? Okay. But I think that's it for questions. I keeping track of it. I seeing anything else? What? Nothing. Okay. Well, if there's no more questions, I see someone is okay. Right. We are looking to expand, like I said, and this initiative that we're using through one of our projects is with the setting. Once we have the chillers acquired, we would be expanding it. And yes, the county carrying office would be one of those offices that we could believe will be able to house the seeds. Again, remember with seeds, you have to have a proper storage for it. The places that I call, they already have small chillers. All right, so now that we are acquiring chillers, those areas now, those county offices that didn't have that before, we'll be able to house it there. And that way they'll be able to then sell the seeds. And and by that time they'll have things in place for it. Any other questions? Well, all right. I think seeing that there are no more questions, I think we can call it at the end of the presentation. And I think and just a note that you should look forward to some other presentations that are also coming through from the Agricultural Services Division, of which the National Seed Bank is a part of it. We would have had others from La Reunion. We would have had from St. Augustine Nurseries. I think there was one from MAPA. So yeah, I think that'll be it for today. Yes. Thank you very much. And I think that will be it. I'll just end it here. Or is not something that you have tutor type for. All right. I think that's it. Yeah.